Yo, yo, ooh, yo, yo. Gum good as a mouth, huh? I need to be looking on that. What was I looking for? I'm gonna be before y'all long greetings. Let's give honor to the source, to the creator, the most high, the ancestors for making all this possible. Ancestors known and unknown. Gratitude. Let's see here. Okay. Anyhow, you know, I didn't realize I really can put background music while I'm talking. Bring y'all into my world. Let me tell you, my favorite is soul classical music. Is it playing? Is it? Gotta say, anyway, let's. I had some topics I came across. Okay, I'm gonna trust that y'all, even though I'm playing this. Okay, music. Oh, let me tell y'all. Oh my god, I'm such a huge. I don't even like to say the word fan, but listen, live music, classical music is at an all-time like favorite on my list. Like, what is that? Like, I'm telling you, sometimes I have to go to rest with listening to classical. I love live music that hits the body that at the core so differently when you listen to live music. The band, the drums, the everything, the instruments. Yeah, classical, romance, symphonies, orchestras. It makes me like want to go look up something here soon, eventually. I got a question for y'all starting off. It's like, I want to ask you, how are you treating yourself? How are you when you get up in the rising? When you get up and set your day, how are you making time for yourself? How are you literally treating yourself? How are you talking to yourself? How are you speaking to yourself? How are you mothering and fathering yourself? The reason I say that is because today my message is going to be more on compassion. At a point in time, my life was so centered around like so much anger, frustration, a belief system on like I wasn't worthy of joy, compassion, empathy for myself and others. Now, I've always had a place of empathy. I've always been at a soft place. I've always been a gentle person at heart, or just in my being. Do I feel like we all are? Yes, I feel like we're all capable of being that, or becoming that. What I feel we miss our mark is the importance of again, I bring so much the topic or the concept around the inner child, or coming back home to self, the essence of who we are. And reason being, in my experience, like I've talked to you before, like about the shelter experience, I'm grateful that, you know, that's always, you know, due to our, you can say, program on learned behavior. And due to some things that we grow up in, we always can find a reason to find the worst, or the worst in things, and literally not reprogram or unlearn that mindset around why is it that we always see the worst? Why is it that I always see, if you want to use the term bad, or the horrible outcome rather than the best? And that's when I feel like the most challenging thing is to do, is to reprogram yourself in believing or changing, shifting your mindset and belief system, even your heart space and so forth, which will shift every foundation within you on the outcome of how you perceive life. For instance, like growing up around, if you, let's say, like from being bullied at home and then going to school to being bullied and coming back home, you're talking about a repetitive cycle. So then you're talking about the fact of like, is this what my life consists of? Is what I'm supposed to accept when I go into life? To be in career settings, to be somewhere where I'm supposed to accept the bare minimum, or to be bullied, to be undermined, or to be to develop this behavior pattern of being passive aggressive. And again, what I do feel, what I wanted to get to is a lot of my messages, the more deep acceptance I come into the aspect of myself, like deepening the awareness around what I did not receive, what I'm able to give, and then holding space with myself, having more compassion, forgiving myself for what I didn't know, for also what I couldn't control, and now what I can change. And with that, you know, the acceptance of me not caring anymore or detaching myself from the idea of any acceptance from the world or any validations or reassurance from external. And that's the beauty of learning how to become more emotionally, mentally, and physically stable within myself, to go away, to set myself, or to be set apart, instead of feeling like I have to be a part of a crowd. It's not to say I cannot enjoy myself, but enjoy myself amongst myself, around whomever, but at the same time, the importance of that reciprocity, the importance of still being able to honor and hold space for myself, no matter who disagrees, no matter who likes, no matter who accepts it. And the beauty of this security that I realized later on in life, that the deeper awareness I have now, is seeing that it allows me to maneuver or navigate life even more harmoniously, and be able to discern what is or isn't for me in this season, and what needs to fall away. And also recognizing the purpose, the mission at hand, to where whomever receives the message receives it, whoever doesn't. But it's also like seeing it from a childlike perspective. When I mentioned before, like people who are undeveloped or undeveloped emotionally or mentally and so forth, due to their demographics. So I want to make that very clear. What I feel we're dealing with here present day is that when you have elders who have grown and been groomed or even programmed in such a way to not have fun, then there's so many different learned behavior patterns behind the fact of why they don't want you to, why they feel you should work, why they feel you should go out and do certain things. And I was talking to my partner in this rising about, is like when you look at the movie, or those of you that are familiar with The Matrix, you know, I was getting this clarity from my interpretation of, like, you know how they say, like, man or human against the machines. And present day, it's like I got clarity to where I'm like, when you see technology or AI, it's not so much depending on who you are, but it also depends on your generation, to where some people are not used to technology, so they feel like it's an enemy. Some may even call it the devil. Some may even call it, you know, so many things, because they're not either open to be adaptable, or it shatters their illusion and creates more of commercial, and creates more of a disconnect between the fact of everything that happens spiritually and physically. Everything that is coming in can either be for the betterment or to bring more enlightenment or awareness to the fact of how humanity or how things are transitioning, which is showing that it's beyond our control or it's part of divine order. And with that, again, from a lot of us who, millenniums such as myself, who have, well, y'all can see that because I would love for y'all to see the fact of certain music that you want to listen to, but again, the awareness around how these things that are part of a shift collectively, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So again, as I've talked about the gap or the generational wealth transfer, you talk about the transfer of mental, emotional, and that can also be, in essence, like unresolved things such as emotions, memories, repressed, and so forth. And so with that, when you look at the concept of what the Matrix is, or even the movie, I was like, okay, I see the battle between man or human and the machine, because in aspect, it's all part of one, but at the same time, it's a natural balance or natural order or things that have always been here. When it comes to the fact of when you research certain things or dealing with energy and frequencies, you're talking about whether you want to use technology or advancements or advanced beings or certain things. There is a place where, again, I bring up compassion, because when we're looking at a generation of baby boomers who came into certain, had learned behaviors and so forth, there still was some type of advancement there, something technology that were implemented or attempted to be created, and then gradually became, into what we know the physical. So now with that, what I was telling my partner, I said the most important thing about this inner child aspect is that when you see, or what I've got from interpretation of the movie, is that how certain characters in there were coming to this awareness of unplugging themselves from the robotic or the simulation, or even the fact of how things were. Everyone's going at one pace doing the same thing, and then it took this one person or this other person and so forth, and then that thing was trying to attack or be agents to attack the very person. In reality, it's almost like when you look at relatives or other people generationally, they are agents in a way of trying to prevent or gatekeep almost things from progressing or shifting. And that's the spiritual warfare or the resistance. And same thing with Star Wars. When you see the people in white suits and the dark suits, and people are forgetting, like, a lot of these things, for me, how my mind operates is like, that's a yin and yang aspect. There's always going to be some type of push-pull, friction, feminine and masculine energies, push-pull. It's more so, again, the compassion that was so important is because I was expressing to my partner, I was like, when you see the generation before, if they didn't have so much of compassion, not to say some didn't, if they didn't have compassion, we are here to reprimand that or recover that or reclaim that through the rebellion, through the authenticity, through the integrity. So with that, now we are to hold on to that because of what we went through in the past, and now realize, like, okay, like, I'm supposed to recover this, because when you look at the social media, when you look at certain outlets or whatever, you either use it or use you. And so that's what the Matrix concept was for me. You either are being used or you use it. And I feel like this is where a lot of people who do miss out, or how a lot of people don't, who they're not missing out. It's just the awareness of how it changes almost the mainframe or the motherboard of, all these things. When you're talking about technology and psychology, when you're talking about spirituality and so forth, it's like, I'm on a computer right now. I can either, all these things are accessible to me. At the same moment, I can't say there's always times where I'm just the perfectionist and trying to make sure I gotta do this and do this. No, there are times where I am lured or tempted to look at certain things or get consumed, but there has to be a balance. And so this is why I always speak about the balance of things. Where you come from a generation who lacked compassion or didn't prioritize compassion, they prioritize more violence, more passive aggressive behavior, more they didn't have a lot of empathy. So now as we rebalance those things, it's a responsibility to us to be a generation to carry that for the next generation, so that they don't be consumed by the fact of becoming so robotic, to continue things while they become more passive aggressive. Or I can go on and on about these topics. So this is why some of us are here as cycle breakers or generational curse breakers, to remind ourselves and generations to come not to be swayed or distracted by what's going on in the world. A lot of these medias or a lot of these things, these outlets, is to lure or keep people back, keep them in what we know now to be almost like the split or the separation, with the illusion of separation, but in essence of things evolving and things that are not. So it's being made very clear who is who, what is what. Just like Transformers, Decepticons, like Deception, or Autobots, or certain things that are, what is it? Yeah, Autobots or whatever. And even with that whole concept, like how Megatron became who he was, or all these things, is like a lot of people, they came together to make Megatron, or is it Megatron? It's not Megatron. What is it? Y'all know I like to go look stuff up. Not Megatron. Prime. Yeah, I don't realize like a lot of this shit be happening. Optimus Prime. And I'm talking about Megatron. Oh, hold on, Megatron is. See, I don't even want to be on here at these fucking commercials. Oh, Megatron was, okay, I remember Megatron now. Come together and make Optimus Prime. Now the funny thing about this, like I'm getting into this, it's like it's showing you the unification even when they all came together, at a point in time, so he can become more powerful in the book. I mean in the series. But it's funny because look at his name, Optimus Prime, like Optimus, optimistic. I know that has, I wonder what the Latin meaning of that is. The word Optimus. Not Latin, but the best. I did not know that. It means best. What's that? Okay. Jupiter, Optimus, Maximus, the greatest. That's funny. What is it called? Not Latin meaning, but what is the other one called? My mind lately is wow. Etymology, that's what it is. Come directly from the Latin optimism. Okay, so same thing. So best, greatest, most excellent. That's wow. Optimus Prime, and this is funny because if you know anything about Prime, primordial is the beginning. I have to be correct on that. Like the origins of things. Prime, first, Prime. The first of its kind. The first and the last, because I remember in the movies it was like the first and the last. So, first in time or importance, the earliest. That's beautiful. So it's funny I'm talking about this because a lot of us, like, when I mention about the last shall be first and the first shall be last, you are almost like the first that are doing things, cycle breaker, generational cycle breaker, but you're the first, and at the same time you're setting up generations after you for you, like to not like it's almost like you're the last of a generation, but to recover these things generationally, ancestrally, and so forth, you are the first to come, if that makes sense, of your generation. So you're like, it's almost like the tail is becoming the head, and the head is becoming the tail. So it's like all these things that are abruptly coming up when it comes to the generations right now has a lot to do with you being the one. You know, when you talk about the Matrix, like, you're the one. They knew in your lineage you were going to be the one that comes along. So when I look at the movie The Matrix, like, when I look at that from a generational ancestral perspective, you are the one that comes along to wreak havoc or shift things. And it's like, even when you don't realize you're doing it intentionally, you're unintentionally, by being authentic and standing in your fucking truth, but you disrupting. It's almost like the mainframe. It's like you're this virus, and that's not in a sickening way, but in a healthy way. It's just like your blood cells and so forth. When you look at Mother Gaia, when you look at Earth, Daughter Earth, or however you want to perceive it, it's like, you know, I reference this even with like the terminology when you break down the so-called virus that came along years ago. And at first it was titled the Corona, and I was like, okay, Corona in Latin. I said Corona etymology. Let's go with Latin first. Garland or wreath, crown or wreath. A type of crown, a type of crowning. So a lot of people in the spiritual community knew that this was like some type of initiation spiritually that was being implemented, that was a forthcoming or initiation of a shift in power spiritually into the physical. And how it played out physically, when you really pay attention to what's going on, and it's like that. How can I break this down? Because I gotta like, it's funny because it may make sense to some and it may make sense to some other ones, but a lot of that was a part of, when I say shift in power, it was a part of a lot of people going out, like physically, and like anything else, it's just like when a new king of the jungle or lion or anything, the natural order of things or cycle is life and death, or death is life. So a lot of things is happening through a rebirth or a reoccurrence of something coming out, something coming in. So with that, that's the significance of the spiritual corona or crowning, you know, representation of like even the crown chakra. When you hear a lot of people talking about the contact with extraterrestrials, but a lot of it is significant to the crown chakra. A lot of information, as above, so below, as within, so without. So a lot of that is from the information. Some, you hear people talk about downloads, or I like to say upload. Even when you say downloading something, it comes down, but then when you upload it, I feel like when you get something here downloaded, you upload it to a mainframe. So either way, it's information that's coming in and going out. So the significance of what I be talking about, how people gatekeep or have gatekept certain things, it's because that is come from a place of blockages internally, or the self-righteous around rulership, power, selfishness, self-righteousness, and so forth. And even with that, no one can stop the divine order of what is happening or what is unfolding. Meaning, like, there are, you know, powerful kids or, you know, spirits or people who will always come along and usher in what is coming. And this is why a lot of you can be hidden in plain sight for your purpose and what you're here to bring. This is why I'm, as a messenger, here to remind you that, let's say, you know, that there's in this, some of you have probably gone through spiritual warfare or whatever, but, you know, I was telling my daughter, she's lately been talking about, like, I to remind her that her power is within her. Her power is within her. She was like, yeah, singing the song like, my power is within. And I'm like, yeah, your power, your greatest power is your love, your authenticity, being who you are, your vibrancy, and reminding her of affirmations, of reaffirming herself, because that's the thing, what's going to lead this generation into being more harmonious and balanced. I've accepted, like, this is one thing I really deep accepted day to day. It's like when I saw her walking the other day, I was like, whoa, this is a little girl who's going to grow into a woman. And the importance of, I say this, the inner child, is to remind our children that yes, you will grow, you will leave this earth as well, but implement those things so that they live a life of fulfillment and to the fullness every day. Cherish it every day. Remind them that I'm not gonna be here all the time in the physical. And I'm sitting here like, wow, I'm literally a messenger for the generations to come. Whether I speak my message or whether I just walk my path, it's like, whoa, for us to, when the beauty of the inner child, to remind us of that compassion. It's like to be able to see our children more compassionately when we're able to see ourselves more compassionately and forgive ourselves for the things, forgive and also hold space for ourselves, the things that we could not protect when we were younger. We were exposed to a lot of things, and in this healing journey I realized, like, sometimes unintentionally you can expose your children, and sometimes you can expose them to things where you did not know, or now that you do know, you make better decisions. So it's like someone who wants to homeschool their kids because of the things that you hear in the media or the school pew happening. It's like, because you're being called to make a better decision, with being supported in a country or a lot of things, a lot of us are being called to shift, to go other places because of the fact of what we're here to internally change and shift and elevate, and so that the generations after us will have a more safe and stable lifestyle and experience. Because deep down, this is about experience. So for me, it's like day to day I'm accepting. Like when I saw my daughter, I was like, whoa, she is the organic, like just the authenticity you see them be, and it immediately reminds you of like what you cannot outrun. Is like the karma aspect of like, whoa, how was I treated when I was young? Even if I was treated this way, the uncomfortability that comes up around it. Okay, now how could I make a better decision for me? Because we immediately we want to give our children everything we didn't give, and I feel like that's the first mistake. I'm not saying you shouldn't offer them and give them things that you feel they're worthy of, but let me ask you this: why don't you feel worthy of it? And what type of place are you coming from? What kind of place are you coming from that you want to be able to give them all these things you didn't get? Well, for one, they aren't you or a part of your experience when you were younger. That's a cycle you can break right now. Because once you start to learn to have compassion and hold space for the child that did not get that love or emotion and were abandoned or whatever else, then you realize that you will feel more present and appreciative and grateful that you can just simply give them what you can. And that has nothing to do with just finances. Because again, we're coming from generations that prioritize material security rather than emotional security. So our generations, I start to realize now, I'm like, wow, my daughter came to remind me of the emotional instability, insecurities, the emotional unstableness that I did not have. Now my son arrived to realize that balance between how I can assert that. Now both of them have feminine and masculine principles. and attributes or whatever. But I see the significance on how a daughter representing, the emotion, more the emotional, the nurturing, and the cycles of the moon, the feminine attributes, but she still acts out masculine in a masculine way. My son is more the assertive, the vision, the logic, like men will be. So with him, I've said before, it's more of showing him. He's more of like, when I see little boys, they actually go out and do things more assertively. Like, he just has this go do what he has to do type thing, and you can't tell me really nothing. And that's beautiful. At the same time, the approach has to be more balanced with him that it would be different with my daughter. My daughter, she feels first. Women feel first. I've said this before. And being that you've been so numb or been told to numb as women in this generation, or from generations who numb their emotions, repress them, suppress them for so many years, this is why the significance of the healing of the compassion comes into play, because at a point in time where I dealt with so many mother wounds, I did not want to have compassion for myself. The compassion is automatically the feminine principles to suppress the emotions. The compassion is that having that compassion for my, empathy for that inner child. So now I'm able to realize, how could I have empathy for the mother who did not know? Now how could I have empathy for the woman who did not know? The relationships, the women, and so forth. How can I have a collective empathy or compassion for women who have a lot of kids, but maybe I should sit down and realize, like, wow, what took her to get to that place? What didn't she know? Or maybe before we judge, how do we know that she wasn't sexually abused or molested or something? Or I can see how when a father is removed or something, where she went down this path of maybe thinking that this is how, I should attract men or be with men and so forth. This is what's going to keep a man. In actuality, that is a belief system of women unconsciously. I'm not here to attack him. I'm realizing, like, I have to have compassion, because the compassion will allow me to realize, like, what could I learn from this interaction? What could I learn from this woman? How could I connect to her and see why she built this business and why she's so hyper independent? I know why. A society has prone or encouraged her that being so hyper independent, you don't necessarily need someone or need a man, or you don't feel like you need this and this and that. But what about, how are you going to connect if it's just only on a superficial level, or only on a sexual level, or only on a monetary level? What's deeper? Because then you're going to realize you don't have compassion. And so then, this is why I can see this perspective on some women don't want to have kids, or they got so far along that they're not wanting to, but at the same time they don't even want to connect with women with kids, or even connect with kids. And that's their choice. At the same moment, you live in a world where you are a kid first, love. And even if you're not a mother, you still hold a motherly energy, is what I'm getting at. So again, I'm just trying to connect the dots to where, again, how far we have gotten away from the essence of who we are. Compassion. To where now our generations is dependent, not even dependent, but that that interconnectedness, or what connects us internally, is when we come home to that essence, it's coming home to that compassion. Because that's what the love is. When we come home to ourselves with that love, and realize that, like, wow, this is allowed me to see everyone and everything clearly. Who is wounded, or who doesn't have compassion, or why they act the way they act. Oh, wow, this is why their business, or this is why this corporation is built like this. Oh, this makes a lot of sense why they're more focused on the external. Oh, this is why homelessness, or this is why it's a lot of things, because there is no compassion for the people. There is no compassion even for the children, as we've seen up to this point. Like I said, it doesn't make sense to me to have so many people who have so much what they call money to obtain so much, and to be able to sit back, go home, and watch people lie on the street, go through substance abuse, even though there's certain things you cannot change, but just sit back and not try to change their life with what they have. And again, you're going to see the cycles of these things closing, simply because the bigger picture of all this is that we are elevating emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And that's why my thing is geared towards the matriarchal. And as I simply accept more and more of my mission and my path, I don't fear what y'all perceive as death, because I'm literally at a place of like peace, to where seeing my daughter walk, I'm like, wow, she's going to continue even more of what, not only what was given to me, what was given to her mother, but also what was bestowed upon her before she arrived. So is with my son. I'm like, wow, I'm honored to the fact that I can share this message, and then realize, like, as I walk this visually, my son will see. As I talk this or feel this first, the feminine, as I feel this, then I'll be able to connect to my daughter. And you know, the beauty of this is, like, even with the misconception, or you know, the miscommunication that is between, you know, that has been from the generations before us, I know without a doubt that there will be more and more of kids, you know, this generation that comes, that prioritize their well-being more than what we did as millenniums, or even as the ones that came before us. Because again, as that was a sign of how things spiritually, no matter how people wanted to fight against it, is that y'all don't want to accept that the world, the way a lot of these elders are shifting and going out, has a lot to do with the systems that were in place. And then when there's an upgrade in something, that is things playing out spiritually and physically. It's an upgrade in life. We're upgrading the mainframe. We're upgrading the bigger picture to how it is we want to live now, not how they did. They're comfortable. That's how we want to live now. And now, as anything else, just as they built their shit, we have to realize, how do we want to build it? Do we want to build our foundations with compassion? My mothers, would you like to build it with more compassionate empathy? Men who actually care about your well-being. A system, a place who actually cares about how you eat, what you feed your children, and so forth. Not these false promises of them continuing to say what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Again, what they put out verbally, what they plant seeds from, as I talked about in my previous video, these are people who carry malevolent spirits. These are people who envy the fact of, whether it's your billionaires or people, they envy or have malicious intent on not even seeing people who are perceived as the last becoming first. And guess what? It's naturally going to happen. No matter how much money they print, no matter how much whatever it is they do, it's the energy of the foundations of this earth. It's the energy of the foundations of the globe, like globally. Everything has ran its course, and the curtain is closing. It's already closing. It's like literally here. And you know, someone that want to give up, it's like everyone, imagine all these people who is trying to make their desperate attempts to be shown to the world their tricks. It's like a magician trying to show their tricks. Hey, look what I can do. Hold on, I'm trying to get your attention before this curtain closes. It's like they're trying to, watch this now. In reality, the gig is up. The gig is up. And the beauty of it is, like, I'm already knowing that the shift that where, again, how you reach our mothers, women, daughters, is not through monetary. You don't reach them through superficiality. You're not reaching them, because the more y'all start to become more in tune, you don't reach them through things like that. That's what a misconception is. And that's why you'll be able to see these characters very clear for a lot of you. A lot of you will be able to see these characters very clear, who are very deceptive, who have ill intent, who are artists, whatever it is, who simply want to get just close to you and drain you of your energy, siphon your energy through their music, through everything else, and then, like, it's so many different things. As much as you think that a lot of people, again, it's the unfamiliarity that, again, what y'all attack. And I get it. But nothing can stop the mission. Nothing can stop the purpose. When you are aligned, there's nothing that can stop what I'm doing. At all. Because there's things that's backing me that's even more powerful than what you see in the natural eye. And I laugh because I know, I'm aware. And that's the same thing with y'all. Once you start to get aligned with your purpose, and you start to really dig more deep into yourself and uproot those things that no longer need to be there, weed out the people that no longer need to be there, everything will become very clear in your mind, in your spirit, and so forth. Same thing with a relationship. Stop letting that same person interact and so forth, whether it's sexually, mentally, and so forth, because all that plays into who you are. And how you gonna get into your purpose if you're not able to go into some type of solitude, or able to even make 5 or 10 minutes, that 5 and 10 minutes to yourself? I'm not talking about on a laptop. I'm not talking about on the computer. I'm not talking about reading. Those things are great. I'm talking about the fact of you taking a moment to where you're able to sit with yourself. And it's happening. It's gonna feel very uncomfortable, because healing is very uncomfortable. I've seen it play out with a lot of mothers now. And again, it's been shown to me. I know mothers with 6, 7 kids, 8, a lot of them. And guess what? I still remind them too. Like, hey, love, I don't care what you went through. I have empathy and compassion that still you have the opportunity to change it, to be better. Okay, so what? You got 12 kids. Now what? What can you do better now so you can stop that cycle of going from the next man, or having a child by a man that ain't really pouring into you spiritually? What can you do differently now? That's what it is about making more better and conscious decisions. That's what this shift is about. And I get it for a lot of us that, the compassion is pouring in, is coming back in, because again, as I start to realize and see more of the inner child in a lot of women, I'm very cautious, because again, you don't know the depths of what people, their vices and spiritual warfare and things like that, but also the fact of still having compassion for them, because it's being able to recognize the learned behavior. Why isn't this person aware that they keep having more and more kids? But at the same time, you got to realize the system that was put into place so that they can even be dependent on those certain resources, and those very resources that they were dependent on. Now, y'all, the beauty of like all these things that are crumbling and crashing, that was not for you to be comfortable, is now leading up to your uncomfortability, so that you can go inward, so that you can face you. It's not as, it doesn't have to be painful. It's not to say things aren't going to come up, but it's actually divinely orchestrated to implement a new order of things, where there is more compassion, where there is more empathy towards how our mothers have been treated, how our women have been treated, how our daughters have been pushed aside with no type of guidance. People who are just simply wanting to keep them distracted from really leaning towards the intuition and the discernment. And it starts with a lot of you mothers that are millenniums, because it's on you. I don't care what type of career status you're in. If you are a millennium, look up the ages, or you are on the tail end of millenniums, you are right now being called to do something completely different. Something that's unfamiliar and uncomfortable. It's okay to walk away from your... That's why I don't even judge a lot of these celebrities, a lot of people. A lot of those people had to go through what they go through. They even had vices and a lot of shit from their mothers. I'm telling you, I don't care. Like, when you look at people that are... Let's say they became a millionaire or billionaire, right? Okay, you in this certain demographic. The energy, the energy is still the same when it comes to the distorted, wounded mother or the wounded masculinity playing out. You got some millennial women who became millionaires or became all this through the music, through whatever it is they do. But at the same time, sometimes they had to go through being a part of that malevolent industry or certain things that consume them just for them to have a spiritual, what you call awakening or awareness around, come across a video such as this, or coming into connection with a video like this or something else that hits them and gives them insight, and you realize like, whoa, because it's going to happen more and more. That's what these transits are all about in the stars. That's what a lot of these things are about. And that's the thing where they're going to come to the realization where how much they've been inauthentic, or how they were, you can say, sold out to believe, or given a fantasy, an illusion of this is how you're supposed to be in this world or on this earthly plane, only for them to come into a shocking realization or self-realization like, wow, I don't even need all this. So just as a lot of people came into their wealth financially, or come into their things again, doesn't mean that they came into it with pure intention. Doesn't mean, like, let me tell you something. I see nobody that's in the industry that have slept with a lot of people on their way up no differently than I know a prostitute in the community. I'll see it no differently. The energy of the succubus, the energy of the Jezebel, whatever you want to call it, is still the same. I see it no differently. Because guess what? At the time, there was a little girl that I have no control of what that child and who that child was born into, that family. That's what y'all don't realize. These people were born into certain families to bring forth something different. Something completely different. And then some of us are present day karma for a lot of them. Karma meaning a lesson, a grave lesson, an important, vital lesson. Because some people in the industry or some people somewhere could not see. Let me tell you something. I had stories where I know a sister personally, and I used to sit back and I realized how much I was a lesson for her, because yes, she was attracted to me physically. Yes, she wanted to do things sexually. I never did, because guess what? I was going through my own celibacy or abstinence at that time, whatever you want to call it, like choosing that, because I was choosing myself. I was choosing to see more of my sexual traumas or what I experienced that allowed me to see what my mother was doing for drugs. And I was also being able to see through a lens of other women who were trying to live and balance out a life, whether they were a stripper, whether they was trying to do things to where they was trying to find balance and stability through the false perception of what monetary actually represents, to keep them from really listening to themselves, but chasing a bag or hustling or getting distracted by the things that they don't realize, like, never brought them fulfillment, no matter how many men they slept with. They were still powerful, they're still amazing, they're still beautiful inside and out. They didn't know at a time, you're talking about generations, they didn't know at a time where you still see present day women who do that. And I'm able to still see the compassion, have compassion, because they don't know nothing else, or they were exposed to that. A lot of people in the industry, they were exposed young. And in very malevolent spirits, or their spiritual warfare, they didn't ever think that they can get out of it until now. Because I see you too. I see a lot of you. And that's the thing about being aware, is that, again, there was a sister that she just, I could see her, I was supposed to see her spiritually, because I had gotten past the fact of seeing women just like on a sexual superficial level, on a surface level. Not as a byproduct. I had something like, oh, I just gotta have it and this and this. No, I was able to see her unhealthily and healthily. And what I mean by that, I had to see her in the unhealthy attachment she had to me. And it wasn't about me. She had an unhealthy attachment to men, or what she went with men, and then she only felt men. This is where a lot of prostitution, or people who give up their body, they only feel in their mind and their belief system, from my perspective, they feel that that's the only thing men are actually good for, even if they don't get fulfillment out of it. And the same thing with men, with pimping or whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. It's a sense of feeling some type of power, some type of whatever it is. And with that, I can see the depths of the fact that she had to have something more traumatically happen to her for her to actually go through this. And I can see how much it was draining her, because every man she laid down with, she was taking on a part of their DNA. She was taking a part of their mentality, their emotions, because again, he only wanted her for this, and she only wanted him for that. So you got to realize there was no mutual respect, there was no mutual connection, there was no nothing. And so for me, in that moment, I was never supposed to lay down with her. I would have healthy conversations with her, and it would only bring her closer to herself, but also in essence, it would make her more attractive to me. It would make me more magnetic, because she would be like, wow, this and that. And guess what? I couldn't judge her, because she still had to go out there and do what she did to make a living, to have something sustainable, to feed herself. How could I judge her? Because when you look at things systematically, it was literally created to keep women in a devaluing state, to not see themselves more worthier than just something superficial or physical. Never to really see how powerful they are spiritually, how much abundance, how much prosperity they hold when they actually do speak life into themselves, into everything around them. We haven't had a society like that. I'm trying to tell you, it's artists right now. It's going to hit them too. It's going to hit them too. Because I keep telling y'all, they watch. Everyone watching. And with that, again, it's a place where a lot of our women matriarchally right now, they're just seeking out, or the world is really seeking out someone to hold space for them. Whether it's listening can be from a place of someone who were verbally abused and they just need someone to listen. Let's say someone who was physically abused. You have people that you can create a service where they just want to be around someone to feel validated and seen. You don't gotta say a word. There are women like that. There are people like that. Some women, people are in relationships like that because they want to feel seen, and due to the fact that we've been in a trauma-bonded society, the only way we know how to feel seen is through the fucked up ways of, well, he got to give me this much money, or she got to do this for me. That's the only way I can feel seen. Do you see how dysfunctional that is? Do you see how inauthentic that is? How disrespectful that is to yourself, to your body? When women aren't taught the fact of like how much you have disrespected your vessel, your being, your way of life, how much you have self-sabotaged your purpose, because you knew the inkling of that man. You knew. A lot of you known that wasn't. But you didn't know anything else. Your mind couldn't go outside of survival, and I get it. I get why some sisters have to use or go towards a Section 8 or certain demographics where this is only offered. It's because they don't realize that there's something else greater outside of the city. They don't know that most of the world will accept them as they are. They don't know how vital they are. If we were playing chess and they were seen as a representation of the queen, how she is the most valuable piece. Everyone's valuable, but how she can move wherever she wants to. So you got to realize, yes, the powers that ain't or used to be has been playing chess, especially with the matriarchal, because they want you to on different levels perceive the patriarchal to be so superior, and then the matriarchal to be inferior to them. Bullshit. I call the bluff. Because if anybody that's holding it down and holding it up has always been the matriarchal. When I be sitting back, I see women right now that I don't know how the fuck they do it. This sister I know got 7 kids. I'm like, I don't know how. And it's wild because I like how women just navigate through emotion, because this is why I tell y'all the importance of why you feel. You are some of the most prominent and powerful leaders that have ever walked this earth and will ever. Because you can put a lot of men by themselves in a town and they will completely dismantle it, because some of them don't know the importance of the emotional intelligence or being secure. Some of them are so power driven, have no connection to the feminine attributes. And I'm talking about present day. And it happens all the time. You just don't know. In your NBAs and your NFLs and all those things that are driven by a lot of by men. It happens all the time. I know people. It ain't just political. I know in settings where men deal with other men in a very they're devalued in so many ways. I don't care. The darkest of darkest, the highest paid athletes, whatever it is, depending on who they are also still devalued and disrespected in so many ways. And a lot of it is that they have been a part of certain groups or settings from childhood development to even now. They're a part of settings now, no matter in their career, and they still are replaying, or they don't even have the awareness around how they're replaying the same systems and corporations that, again, not only prey on their childhood woundings, but also manipulate them into believing that they are just as powerful as they are just because of their status and career, without honoring anything about what the mother, the matriarchal, and what took it. I don't give a fuck how athletic, how big you are, how powerful, whatever it is. You came from a woman. You came from a woman. It is wild how the women don't get not even just the credit, but just the claps, the everything that they deserve from what has built every fucking society, community, and even corporation and business, no matter if it is an NBA or NFL or even anything sports or anything else, everything. And that's what's going to be made very clear. Again, I see why a lot of mothers, y'all have this energy towards people, and that's what's being redirected towards yourself. Have more compassion for yourself. Once you realize that those people out there who you have don't know what they do, it's just what's being shown to you, have no compassion for you. Why aren't you asking a lot of those artists and people who have all these things, why don't you ask them why they won't support you in your bills? Why they won't come and support you? I dare you, I challenge you to ask them. Why aren't y'all questioning the millionaires and billionaires that are artists? Because a part of you want to be in their spotlight and have their life. A lot of you support them in ways that you have no idea. Like, why you support them? You don't even know why. Because a part of you have been programmed to believe, like, I wish I could be like them. And you don't even realize that's coming from your inner child. That's coming from the little girl in you, don't like want to be a certain person. But in reality, you don't even give your fucking self that support that you give this whole person up here performing or doing whatever. Why don't you give yourself just as much support and energy? When are you going to start doing that? Same thing for men. Same thing for you guardians and parents. Why don't you give that much energy you give towards these people to yourself and to your children? I'll tell you one thing. I could care less about what someone's status or anything is in a world, because if I don't look to them as, why would I idolize something? Why would I teach my kids to idolize anything? That person is a person that has a gift just as you do. It's all how we use it. So, again, to whom is given, much is required. Why don't y'all questioning so much of what is happening? Why don't y'all questioning the fact that people are in certain places? You know they're not going to change or do anything. It's just like I see people in the community who been there all their life. You got people who have consistently been in these settings, no matter their status or career, for so long. What makes you think they're going to change for you? That's an internal thing first. You have no control over that. And whether people like it or not, we're evolving, no matter who likes it, who accepts it. So that's my message for today. Compassion too. Compassion. The more compassion we have for ourselves and go inward, we'll realize who doesn't have compassion, who are simply just selfish. Because that's what the shift is happening. Y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessing. Shalom.